Let's talk a little bit about vesting schedules. Now, vesting schedules are something that is very standard and they pop up all the time for founders and advisors and different people involved with startups, but there are certain considerations and nuances that I think are worth addressing, which can, throw a wrench in things. The big thing that I always pay attention to is a lack of vesting schedule, or specifically people that are interested in having their equity vest very early. In particular, we're going to talk about this in the case of an advisor, someone who you want their help, you want their support, you want their engagement, you want them to do things, not necessarily build the company for you, but give you real advice, make real connections, do some real emailing and phone calls, whatever it is that their value can be and how they can bring it to you, you want that. Now, of course, advisors and people involved tend to be a little bit more senior, right? Not necessarily just in age, but in terms of rank. They're people that are busy, they're pulled in 100 directions, they maybe have a good amount of money, so it's one of those, especially if they're not getting paid cash, things are hard to get their full attention. And of course, a little bit of ego can come with this as well. With that, of course, it's very tempting for them to say, oh, I'm X, Y, and Z person. I deserve to have my vesting schedule much quicker, or no vesting, or I want all the equity up front, or I want all the equity to start immediately and there to be no cliff. And cliff meaning the period between the day you sign the equity, and of course there's a period that goes where they have to prove they're doing work, and if they don't prove they're doing work, then you can pull the equity from them effectively and they don't get anything. So it's kind of a time window for like a trial period effectively. And this particular advisor, again, where this conversation came from, really didn't want any of that. And while I can understand that's a perspective that they want, that's not something that's strategically sound for founders to say yes to. Because even if this advisor completely blows it out of the park and they do all this great stuff and they do all this stuff for us that brings a lot of value, if we didn't have it on paper, and worse if they didn't do that, they'd still be getting the same amount of equity and we wouldn't have any legal recourse. We wouldn't have any way of protecting ourselves, as well as the other founders, the other investors, and people contributing. So when you're making these deals, when you're looking at vesting schedules, when you're looking at setting cliffs, just make sure it kind of passes the smell test and make sure everybody's in alignment, because if there is no vesting schedule and there is no cliff, generally speaking, it's going to be an outlier, and you're going to want to know why you're agreeing to an outlier if you don't have to.